In this video, we're going to explain what a hypothesis is in the context of a typical dissertation, thesis, or research paper. A hypothesis in this context is also sometimes called a research hypothesis or scientific hypothesis. So don't worry if you've encountered slightly different terminology. If you're new to the oftentimes intimidating world of academic research, be sure to hit that subscribe button for loads of plain language, actionable advice covering all things research related. Also, if you're working on a dissertation or thesis, check out our free collection of easy-to-use chapter templates to fast-track your project. You can find the link to those in the description. So what exactly is a hypothesis? Well, let's start with the general definition of hypothesis before we get more granular and explore research hypotheses specifically. According to the Cambridge Dictionary, a hypothesis is an idea or explanation for something that is based on known facts but has not yet been proved. In other words, a hypothesis is a statement that proposes an explanation for how or why something works, or the relationship between two or more things, based on existing knowledge or some reasonable assumptions. For example, a hypothesis could look something like this. Sleep impacts academic performance. This statement predicts that academic performance will be influenced by the amount and/or quality of sleep a student engages in. Sounds reasonable, right? It's based on reasonable assumptions, underpinned by what we currently know about sleep and health from the existing literature. So loosely speaking, we could call it a hypothesis, at least by the dictionary definition. Unfortunately, however, that's not quite sophisticated enough to describe a research hypothesis. In the world of academic research, a statement needs a few more criteria to constitute a true research hypothesis. In particular, a hypothesis statement needs to be clear, specific, and testable. Let's take a look at each of these criteria. Number 1, specificity and clarity. A good research hypothesis needs to be extremely clear and articulate about both what's being assessed, or who or what variables are involved, and the expected outcome. For example, a difference between groups, a relationship between variables, etc. Let's stick with our sleepy students example and look at how this statement could be more specific and clear. Hypothesis: students who sleep at least 8 hours per night will, on average, achieve higher grades in standardized tests than students who sleep less than 8 hours a night. As you can see, the statement is very specific as it identifies the variables involved, sleep hours and test grades, the parties involved, 2 groups of students, as well as the predicted relationship type, a positive relationship. There's no ambiguity or uncertainty about who or what is involved in the statement, and the expected outcome is clear. Contrast that to the original hypothesis we looked at, sleep impacts academic performance, and you can see the difference. Sleep and academic performance are both comparatively vague, and there's no indication of what the expected relationship direction is, more sleep or less sleep. So, as you can see, specificity and clarity are key. Right, let's look at the next requirement. Number 2, testability. A statement must be testable to qualify as a research hypothesis. If it's not testable, it's not a hypothesis. Simple as that. Testability means that you must be able to collect observable data in a scientifically rigorous fashion to assess whether it supports the hypothesis or not. In other words, there needs to be a way to prove or disprove the statement. For example, considering the previous hypothesis, we could test this hypothesis by undertaking a quantitative study involving 2 groups of students, one that gets 8 or more hours of sleep per night for a fixed period, and one that gets less. We could then compare the standardized test results for both groups to see if there's a statistically significant difference. In other words, this hypothesis is very testable. Again, if you compare this to the original hypothesis we looked at, sleep impacts academic performance, you can see that it would be quite difficult to test that statement, primarily because it isn't specific enough. Simply put, if you can't test it, it's not a hypothesis. All right, let's quickly recap. A research hypothesis, also sometimes called a scientific hypothesis, is a statement about an expected relationship between variables, or explanation of an occurrence. To qualify as a research hypothesis, the statement needs to be very clear, specific, and testable. So when you write up the hypotheses for your dissertation or thesis, make sure that your statements meet these criteria. If you do, you'll not only have rock-solid hypotheses, but you'll also ensure a clear focus for your entire research project. One more thing, you may have also heard the terms null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis, or H0 thrown around. At a simple level, the null hypothesis is the counter-proposal to the original hypothesis. For example, if the hypothesis predicts that there is a relationship between two variables, for example, sleep and academic performance, the null hypothesis will predict that there is no relationship between those variables. At a more technical level, the null hypothesis proposes that no statistical significance exists in a set of given observations, and that any differences are due to chance alone. If that sounds like gibberish to you, don't stress. You can check out our video explaining quant analysis basics, where we unpack the lingo. Link in the description. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and leave a comment. For more videos like this, check out the Grad Coach channel and subscribe for more plain language, actionable research tips and advice every week. Also, if you're looking for one-on-one support, be sure to check out our private coaching service, where we hold your hand throughout the research process step by step. You can learn more about that and book a free initial consultation at gradcoach.com.